What's cracking, everybody? You're back with Mr. Berger, and we are now on episode 3 of Cities Skylines 101 with Mr. Berger. So, today we're pretty much just going to be doing a little bit of city expanding, and, we're just going to continue up on the grid and figure it on out from there. So, the first thing that I notice is that we need a little bit more residential here. So, we're going to go ahead and I'm thinking we'll fill in these squares, because if we take a look at land value here, we can see that everything around the water gives us good land value, and obviously the parks and stuff generate a little bit of land value too. So maybe we'll just fill in these squares for residential. We'll keep this like we did over here, this kind of whole area for residential, and then maybe up here on these kind of intersecting roads, we can expand this down a little bit further, and we can zone some more commercial up there. Now another thing that I wanted to do is I really don't like having cemeteries and excuse me, garbage dumps and stuff, landfill sites, whatever you call them, in town. I really prefer to go for like an incineration plant, just go directly for that. And now I'm kind of beating myself up for having unlocked the whole area early on, because honestly we don't really need that whole area this early on. I just like doing it. It's good in some maps if you have like a very spread out map, maybe like a big island map with a bunch of little islands spread throughout. But in this, kind of big, expansive, relatively flat map, it wasn't really necessary. So I could have kept a little bit of that extra money, but I did want to kind of give it a little bit more of a vanilla start feel. So we'll just kind of have to hang tight here. And in fact, let's go ahead and put it up into triple time here. So while I'm talking, we're going to be making money at the same time. We can check our garbage. It's not processing that much because we only have that one little thing processing it down there. And that's why I want to go ahead and put down, an incineration plant when we get enough money. Pretty soon we could actually go to the budget tab and we could take out a loan. We could do like the 60,000 one, and we could put down an incineration plant or something if we wanted. Or we can just hang tight until we have enough money. And I want to do this video, or excuse me, this series mostly on camera, but there might be some points where I have to like time lapse it or something, just to build up a little bit more, or build up some money or something like that. But at this point, well, it's running in triple time here. Electricity looks good, water looks great. We could probably turn the water budget down a little bit, honestly. Let's do that. Education, we got plenty of elementary. We could use a high school pretty soon, but I'm thinking let's go ahead and zone in these whole areas as residential. And let's actually get rid of that pathway that I made in the last video, so that we can zone this whole area in as residential as well. We got that little clinic there, our basic things, police station. We do not have a fire station yet. That's something that I want to put down here at some point. Again, we're just kind of a little bit tight on money right now, which is why we're running through it in triple time. Let's see how our electricity, you notice as we expand more, our electricity usage is going to go up. So the consumption number is going to be getting higher, and the production might be going down or up a little bit depending on how much wind we're getting, because it's a wind based. But it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't fluctuate too much. Water looks good. Electricity is getting a little bit low, so we'll just kind of have to keep an eye on that. And it looks like we got plenty of usage, or excuse me, we've filled in plenty of demand, that's what I'm trying to say, for the residential zones. Now we have a little bit more demand for industrial, so industries or offices, and commercial zones down there. So we only have a little bit of industry here. We could potentially start thinking about setting up like another custom industry. So if we go to the natural resources tab, we can see down here all this whole area is filled with oil, and that's what the black thing is there according to that key or legend there. And then this over here is fertile land, so that's for farming. Farming is nice because it works as industry and doesn't produce any pollution or noise pollution. The greener areas, which is just naturally where there's a lot of trees, are going to be good for forestry. And then ore is going to be that kind of lightish bluish. I'm terrible with colors, so correct me if I'm wrong, but that kind of color right down there. So if we're looking nearby, we've actually got some nice fertile land right here. So we could think about making some farms here. And we could do a little bit of fun with the road design rather than just doing the usual, grid. So let's bring it down to single time here so that we're not going too fast and there's not too much going by all at once. We're looking good. Let's check electricity. Looking good there. Looking good in water. So what I'm thinking is, let's open up this guy again. And we'll keep this area around here for like our water and garbage, but we could always move it down a little bit as well. And we're gonna expand the road here. We should be able to have the road tool and that thing open. And I like to kind of like make a circle or make the road follow around the fertile land or the ore or the oil or whatever you're doing. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to start here, and we're just going to kind of curve along the edge here and go into there. A little bit too curvy. I'm not too happy with that. We don't need to worry. We don't need to make it perfect. So let's go ahead and redo that part. We'll just kind of come through here, back up a little bit, back around. And then we can connect through there and go back towards where we started. And then if we want, we can either follow along in the center there with other roads that are curved like that, or we could just grid it up straight from then on out. There's a lot of different ways to do this. You know, you could have just as easily done like a big square, right, all the way around. But it's whatever works for you. This is a little bit different and looks kind of fun and interesting, not as boring. So we will go ahead and do that. And then we could grid it up in the middle just to make use of all that space. But why don't we go ahead and just have fun with the curviness. And we'll just make it a little bit curvy here. And it's not going to make the best use of all the space, but who cares, right? It looks a little bit better. And it doesn't always have to, you know, be perfect. We sometimes, the beauty of this game is just seeing what we can come up with. So we can see we have very little residential demand right now. We got plenty of houses, so there's a lot more demand for industry and commercial. So let's start by quickly just filling in a little bit more commercial. I said that I wanted to do it up here, so let's do about, I like doing 4x4 blocks, so that's 8. And that should be good for now. 12 there, unless I miscounted. And then we're going to set this district over here. We're actually going to get the big district tool. And we're going to create a new district. We can either right-click to erase there, or we could just immediately left-click in the center here. So we can expand this one. And then we could start a new one over here and just push it on in there as well. So whatever works. We can do that, and then we can just kind of erase that to trim it a little bit. So what we're doing here is we're setting a new district. That's Belmont District, and I like renaming these districts quickly because they pop up really quickly. So I'll just, you know, slap something down. We'll just call it Bonnie Farms, and we can take out the district, and it just looks a little bit nicer. So one thing we need to make sure to do here is now that we've set that as a district, we're going to go ahead and go to industry specializations. And these are ones that just come with default. I don't have any DLC. It's only like mods and assets and stuff. So if you're running industries DLC, it's going to be a little bit more complicated. Potentially, you're going to have more things to work with. But this is the ones that come with the vanilla game, essentially. So we're going to go to farming industry because that was fertile land there. And we're just going to left-click that once we've selected farming industry. And that sets it to having... what is it? Having the area as a farm area. So another thing we need to make sure to do is make sure that it has water and electricity. So in the theory of, you know, continuing up the grid here, we will just put this guy up 44 because that's 22 times 2. And we'll bring him out 90 degrees so that he covers that. And if I should have just done 22 first. Let's see, I think if you get in real close, you can, yeah, get the little grid markers, and they actually work out really well. So there is that. That's taken care of. And then we could have one come up here a little bit. I'll just make sure to do it 90 degrees. I'll make it come up 22. No, I don't really like that. Let's just go ahead and expand from here all the way up. And then all the way to the right there. Alright, looking good. So it's good with water. We've said it is a farm area. Now let's dedicate some of the areas to industry. So for the sake of, you know, expanding electricity, we're going to start over here in this area first so that we don't have to build extra power lines all the way across, because you would have to do that if you started over here. And we're going to go ahead and assign a few places to be little farms. and they're not going to produce any pollution or noise pollution. They're going to work as industry, and they work a little bit differently than generic industry. They can import and export goods and stuff. So make sure that you have some generic industry in your city as well, which is what we got down here. So if we still need a little bit more after these things pop up, we'll put it in triple time here. Maybe we can build a couple more generic buildings. We could just do like instead of doing a whole block, we'll just take it real slow at first. We'll just do like a 4x8 or something. Just a couple more there. Alright, that looks good. How are we on electricity? Electricity is fine. Water is fine. Getting some good expansion going here. And it's looking good, guys. Another thing we should keep in mind pretty soon is fire. I don't think we've had any fires yet, but we do want to put down a fire station pretty soon. Firehouse is 12,560 a week. This is another firehouse. This is a fire station that I downloaded. It's the same thing, 12,560 a week. I'm thinking we should probably put one down pretty soon, just because it's pretty vital. We don't want to lose anything to fires. So let's put one down here, just near where we put all the other stuff, all the other city services. See, everybody gets happy. You can see the fire hazard for these guys nearby is very low, and as you get further out, it's a lot higher. But regardless, the fire station, once you put the stuff down, the engines are pretty much going to go anywhere in the city. They're just going to take a lot longer to get to those places. Unless, of course, you have a completely isolated district that's not connected by anything else, by any highways or anything, and only mass transit. But that's something we'll save for another episode. So at this point, we're looking pretty good. We could still use a little bit more industry and commercial. We're getting a little bit more residential demand again. So let's go ahead and expand this out a little bit further. I don't want to do the whole block quite yet, so let's do 7, 8, there we go, another 12. And then over here, we'll fill in this right here. And we will grab us a couple more farms. And I like how all the different industries spawn different buildings. Some of these are downloaded, like this one right here is downloaded. And if you don't set the district theme to it, to this specific thing, like if we go in here and we go click on that in themes, we could set like the agricultural district style, and it'll only do the buildings in that theme. But for things like this, like you know, specified industries, I only have so many building models that I use for them, so I'm not too worried about if they're intermixed. Whereas if I'm doing any random houses, I've got so many different house models. I might have a Japanese house next to a European house, next to a medieval house, next to a futuristic house. You know what I mean? So I'm a little bit more lenient when it comes to, you know, setting district themes for, you know, more specified districts, like, you know, specified industry or maybe offices or something like that, than when it comes to, like, you know, a residential area like we have here. So we're doing pretty good on money. Everything's balancing out pretty well. How's our garbage? It's looking okay. Education should be the next thing. We got the firehouse. The next thing we want is going to be a high school. So let's... where do we put the elementary? We did put an elementary, right? Oh, yeah. Gotta select that tab. Yeah, there's the elementary. Let's get a high school. I got another cool model for the high school. This Phoenix High School here. And I'm going to put it a little bit further down. I'm not going to put it right over here because we just have so much stuff there that's already going to like give people a lot of land value and going to potentially cause some traffic congestion because everybody's trying to go to school and, you know, the police are trying to get out and everything. So we're going to go ahead and put this high school over here. Oh, let's pause really quick because we're having an electricity issue. We're going to put the high school over here, and that'll create a little bit of a, you know, we can use that as kind of a buffer zone in between the industrial, or excuse me, the residential down here and then the commercial up there. And the issue that we're having right now is we're not producing enough electricity. That's why these buildings are starting to run out of electricity. So we're going to go back into the budget tab. We're going to turn our electricity up to 85%. And we're going to see if that takes care of the issue. And if it doesn't, then we'll turn it up more, or we'll just plop down another building. It's starting to get higher and higher, so I'm just going to invest in another one of these little guys. They're super cheap and produce a lot of electricity. A little bit of you know, easy mode for taking care of electricity in a sense, but we don't have to worry about it as much. If you missed what they were in the first video, I talked about them. They basically work like windmills. They're just a custom downloaded asset. They cost less, produce more, so it works out really well. Now this little thing that we're getting here is not enough workers. And I tend to get that when I put down new industry. And I think that I haven't figured out the system perfectly, but basically like more educated workers are generally going to go to work in offices and not want to work in industry, regular industrial places. And less educated are fine, working in regular industrial places. And eventually I find that if you just kind of hang tight and you don't do too much industry at once and it's not all popping up with that icon, eventually people are going to fill in those jobs one way or another, unless you just straight up don't have enough people and have a huge residential demand. But right now we're looking pretty good as far as demand goes down here, and our houses are starting to level up, so that's good. Let's put it back into triple time. So I'm not too worried about that. Those jobs will fill in eventually, and if not, then those people will leave. The buildings will be abandoned, and we can either bulldoze them or let them get filled in when the demand is there. So right now, water treatment, sewage treatment's looking a little bit low. So water treatment's good, or water intake's good. So let's just put another sewage thing down. We got just a couple of those basic ones. Now this one is $3.20 a week. That one's $4.80 a week. So let's start with a little bit of a cheaper one here. Let's pause it for a sec so that we can make everything nice. We're going to start by getting rid of these pipes. And we're going to put this guy, we can get rid of that electricity too. And we're going to put this guy kind of right there. I think that'll connect to electricity already, so we don't have to worry about having those electric wires at all, because you see the bubble is connected right there now. Next thing we need to do is get the water pipes back in there. So we select pipes, connect to that, and we are back in business. We put it back in triple time. Look at water. Our sewage treatment skyrocketed. Water availability is fine. And we're pretty good on income right now for a little starter town, so I'm not too worried about that. Fire's looking good. Electricity, water's looking good. Education, we got plenty of capacity for high school students. Plenty of capacity for elementary. We've only got a few people eligible for the university yet, so we don't need to worry too much about investing into that. Now, I really wanted to do something different with the garbage. Like, that's really bothering me. I don't want to have a landfill site in there. I want to go straight for an incineration plant or an advanced incineration plant. This is one that I downloaded off of the Steam network, so we will go for that pretty soon. Oh, we're getting a low happiness thing. So before we do that, we'll hang tight. I'll accept the garbage a little bit longer, and let's look. Where is we getting low happiness? I guess the residential happiness is really low. I wonder why. Over here, they're not too happy. That's interesting. It should be pretty good, but we could slap down another park or something down there. So let's put it in regular time for a little bit, and let's skim through a few parks. I got a whole ton of parks. I downloaded a bunch off of the workshop, and they're one of my favorite things to download. Really cool. We could do something fun. There's something big like a Bantam football park. We could do a nice little church if we wanted. That's easy and small. There's just an easy little pathway there that's kind of narrow. Or we could do a nice bigger one. That one's like a plaza. I think it's something that just kind of fits in there nicely. I like the spiral park a lot. I don't want to take up too much room with that. So what if we expand our roads a little bit here? We go up here and we just kind of follow along the spiral. We're going to start a little bit higher to make sure there's room. Looks good. Not too happy with that. There we go. That's a little better. Sometimes you gotta, go back and delete a little bit of road just to make it perfectly how you like it. That's good enough for me. And we're gonna put down a park right in between there. That spiral park, I think, is 8 by 8. Whoa, that's not what I want. That thing's gigantic. I wish it had a thumbnail. Or we could do the cherry park like we did earlier, which is 9 by 9. That might fit in there. Not quite. You can only use Road Anarchy if you have that mod to fit pretty much anything anywhere, but I don't want to get into that too much yet. So we're just going to go with that nice little spiral park, if I can find it again. Yeah, there we go. And we're going to put it right in there. Bam. And the pathways, it has little pathways on it. They'll kind of naturally glom onto sidewalks and other pathways, even if there's a little bit of space in between. So you saw there was a little bit of space. Like if we put down... why does it keep going to that one? If we put down the park again, see, it doesn't fit perfectly. Like there's that extra square on the left there. So up here there's a little extra space on the right, just like in there. but the little pathways just glommed onto the sidewalks there, which is good because it allows people to walk in between, go from one road to the other without congesting up any traffic, and also enjoy the park at the same time. So that's really great. Let's put it back in triple time now. Now we got some more industrial demand. For some reason that thing got abandoned even though we got industrial demand, but we will destroy it and it should pop up again real soon. Are these guys having issues? Yeah, we're not having that issue with not enough workers anymore, and we do have a little bit more industrial demand. So let's go ahead and place down 3, 4, 3, 4, a little bit more there, and let's fill in a couple more of these farms. Let's expand down to this road, and it's looking good. Now we could potentially do that garbage thing I was talking about. I wanted to get the advanced incineration plant. I'm assuming that's what ADV stands for. So we just go to the budget tab, go to loans, and basically we're going to take out the one that's 60,000, and it's 10% interest, 253 a week, which is not a much. So we'll take that out, and we can always just pay it back when we get enough. And we're going to go to garbage. See, now we have 82,000 down there. We're going to put down the advanced incineration plant right there. And our income's going to drop for sure, because that thing costs a lot of upkeep, and the loan is also going to be costing us a lot. But it's going to balance out. Don't worry. It'll balance out eventually. And if not, if it doesn't work out and it's too big of a problem and we didn't have enough saved up or anything like that, then we basically can just turn it off by turning the on button to off right there, and we should be good. But we're fine. We have, 8,000 some saved up. It's going back up now. And now if we look at our garbage processing status, see, we can process way more, like over twice as much as we're making. Producing and processing, that's the words I'm looking for. So we're producing way less than we can process. So we can actually switch this landfill site to empty building to another facility for now, and that'll just slowly but surely, all the garbage trucks from that landfill site right there are going to empty into either that thing there or this thing right here. Now this thing may have soaked up a lot of electricity, but it's actually looking pretty good. We're fine. Water looks good. Check our education as well. I just like checking on these things from time to time, and I think there are mods that allows you to have like the whole thing side by side, all of your vital stuff. You guys can look into that if you want. I don't use any at the moment. You can see here that the industry, especially the farms and stuff, are producing a lot of trucks, a lot of back and forth. We've also got a lot of garbage trucks because they're probably trying to move these ones over to there and stuff like that. So we had a little bit of a traffic there. Nothing was backed up or anything, just more cars than usual. But industry like this, they'll do a lot of like importing and exporting, especially if you put like oil industry where there isn't any oil. They've got to then like import all their oil. So you're gonna have a lot of trucks. If you put down like a freight terminal, if you're using trains, or put down a freight cargo harbor, if you're using boats, then those two can also allow you to import and export and soak up some of the traffic. So right now there's a lot going in and out here. It's not so bad though that I feel like I need to add another entrance. If I did, then I could add a nice little highway entrance exit right there for the trucks, but I'm really not too worried about that right now. So right now our demand is looking really good. We could actually add a few more houses down here, take advantage of that new park and the high land value around it. And in doing so, let's add a couple more shops. We'll just fill in that block right there. And why don't we expand it a little bit further? Switch to the straight tool and go there and there. Just a boring old grid, but it'll get the job done nicely. Industrial demand, I don't want to put too much down yet because we're having issues with the jobs not being filled in. But I think we're looking good. Why don't we fill in that block there? Yeah, it's no problem. Alright guys, it's looking pretty awesome right now. City's coming together nicely. This guy's having trouble with garbage, I don't know why. Oh hey, another thing, since we put down the garbage advanced incineration plant, and it's processing so much, especially on top of this thing and that thing right there, look at the numbers there and the bar there, like the processing status is way higher. So again, if you don't want to worry about budget too much, then don't worry about it. Just leave everything at 100% and build buildings respectively. But I like messing with the budget just to tweak things from time to time. So we're going to turn it down to about 90% for each. And we're going to see how it looks now. Yeah, see it's a little bit lower down there. So we're processing a little bit closer to how much we're producing. I still want it higher though, because I want to be able to process more than we're producing. This thing is now empty. That actually emptied out really quickly. So we can just demolish the thing. Let's just get rid of it. And if I want to, I can move this over, but it's going to cost me a little bit, 15,000, which is a lot right now, not a lot later. I could always use the Move It mod, and just, if you're using the Move It mod, you can just click it and literally just drag anything anywhere. And if you decide you don't like that, you can just Control Z, and it'll put it back where it was. So we'll just leave it where it was for the time being. I mean, there's no real need to move it for the time being. You know, we got plenty of space right there. So, I don't know, guys. That's looking pretty nice. What else do we need to worry about? Everything is really balanced out as far as demand goes right now, which is good. It's okay to have a little bit of demand. There's always going to be some demand for something, right? So if you have a balance, that's definitely nice. I think that we could consider expanding to a new neighborhood. We could consider expanding this neighborhood a little bit. We're getting a little bit more residential. Why don't we... I would like to make another neighborhood at some point, but I may save that for another episode and do a whole different district there. So for now, we're just going to stick to this guy here, and we're just going to keep expanding this. You can see as we continue to balance out, we're getting a little bit more demand for residential, a little bit for commercial, and a little bit less for industrial. So let's go ahead and expand this guy a little bit more. We're going to bring this one out straight all the way, and then maybe we could squeeze something in there. I mean, see, if we squeeze the road in there, it wouldn't be much use. So maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe we could do it, bring this guy out a little bit further. 90 degrees. Bring it all the way down. I don't like that little curve there. So let's do this all the way across. There we go. Get this guy all the way across there. That would make use of that, but then we still have the extra space in between. So instead we could grid like downwards like we were doing up here and just kind of continue along in that fashion. It's not snapping on how I want it. Might have to use road anarchy for this one. Yeah, there we go. Just to make sure that everything snaps in perfectly. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. I want it all the way up there. And we'll put this down there. And we'll put this guy, let's pause it for a sec. Bring this out a little bit further. And put this directly down. I want it to snap it perfectly. Nice. Now we have a nice little gridded up area there. We can continue to expand however we want to. We could put in more shops. We could put in more houses. Looks like we need a little bit more residential, so let's keep gridding up residential down here. And then up there we can do more shops and stuff. So let's make our residential go up to about maybe how far these ones were. So let's fill this whole block in like that. Let's check. Yeah, water is covering it already, but let's expand this a little bit further just so we don't have to worry about it later when we continue to expand here. Something's wrong here. This one is off. Let's fix that guy right there real quick. And expand that one, and it's looking good. Oops, that was an accident. Let's make sure to get it nice and even there. Good to go. Okay, so we get some more houses popping up. It's looking good. Let's go ahead and do another block because we have a good chunk of residential demand. And check our water, check our electricity, check our garbage, education. Everything's looking a-okay right now. So let's go ahead and put it back into triple time. Watch our stuff expand. Let's put a couple more shops and stuff down here. We can probably just continue because it's not that far. We'll just continue down along here. I'm not worried too much about making the amount perfect right now. I'm just gonna start slapping a few down there, and we could continue this road down here, but it'd be kind of unnecessarily gritty. So we'll just make these kind of a different style of block there. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? And honestly, like T intersections, like this guy right there and that guy right there, those are really good. Look, and we got a third one right there. Because they don't create and oh, that's funky. They don't create as much traffic. What happened here was we did something with the road anarchy, and it did not come out how I wanted it. Oh man, that's annoying. Okay, how far can we get it? Looks like we have to use road anarchy, and it's just gonna do that funky little thing there. We could adjust it with move it a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That looks a little bit better. Not perfect, but a little bit better than... Oh man, it looks really wonky. Okay, that's decent. I'm not too worried about it. We can always go in and edit that later. Because as you can see, it looks really funny with the sidewalk coming off the side like that, but it also looked funny the other way. What if we just move it like that? There we go. That's a lot better, a lot more natural looking. So back to what I was saying about the T intersections, they create a lot less traffic because you only have to worry about, going up against 2 other directions of traffic rather than, 4 lanes in total, 4 directions of roads. You've only got 2 of them. Wait, is that right? I'm not phrasing that perfectly, but you guys get my point. There's less traffic. And of course, ultimately, roundabouts are your best friend. Those are definitely going to be the best thing for dealing with traffic for sure. Alright, guys, let's go ahead and continue to expand this residential area because we're looking good. And then I think we'll just go ahead and wrap this video on up. Let's put it back into triple time here. Make sure to check our vitals. We're looking good. We got about 40k saved up. We could go into budget loans and pay that back, but we have a little bit more that we need to save up first because we don't have quite enough for it yet. So let's go ahead and let these guys expand. We'll think about paying that back pretty soon, or we could just hang tight until it's I think it slowly pays off. Yeah, the payment plan is 260 a week. So yeah, see, the number is actually going down because it slowly pays itself off over time. So residential demand is still pretty good. We're not getting much industrial demand, but our industry is looking all right. Now what we could do really quickly is go in here, just set a couple general city policies. I like doing recycling for my whole city, and that creates less garbage and slightly less tax income, but that's not a big deal. And there's a whole bunch of different fun ones that you can do here. Just be wary of the policies, especially early on. Like smoke detector distribution is good for small districts like this that might cause a lot of fires that are away from a fire station, but using it in your whole town, it'll make it so that since it's 5 cents per building, you have a whole bunch of buildings, they're all gonna make it cost a whole lot. Oh man, we're really getting that residential demand. Okay, well, we will make sure to continue along building residential buildings in the next episode. I'm thinking about maybe continuing over here. We could easily slap down a road right there, and then do a bridge across, and then make a nice little, residential neighborhood over here using a different theme. But I think I'll save that for the next one. So that is it for today, guys. Let's go ahead and end this in a nice little pan somewhere. Maybe by our farms, our nice farming area. Yeah, that came together really nicely. I'm pretty happy with it. Alright guys, that is it for tonight. Thank you so much for watching all the way till the end here. You rock. I really appreciate it. Make sure to leave the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, or you can leave it a thumbs down if you didn't so much. That's totally fine. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing by hitting that little burger down there. I've been covering Cities Skylines more and more. Traditionally, I cover Clash Royale and Hearthstone, but I like switching it up and covering different games from time to time. I definitely plan to continue this series, so don't hesitate to leave a comment. Let me know if you guys have any recommendations, if you want to see me put anything in the city, or if you want like a street or a building or a school or whatever named after you, or anything like that, or anything that you have a suggestion for, maybe name it after your dog or something like that, then go ahead and feel free to let me know. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys, and have a good night.